Okay, hello friends, and welcome back to Kirby Russia. Happy New Year! This is the first live stream of the new year that I am doing. I'm pretty sure. Sometimes memory fails me. I was on Rogue News, but I think that was like a day before New Year's. So, anyways, I'm here with you guys now. It is a glorious, already the 4th of January as I look at my computer. You might be wondering, Tim, this is the latest start for live stream you've ever had. And that's because I'm sort of forcing myself to really seriously relax and take a break over the New Year holidays. I had quite a workload in the last year. And so part of that has sort of caused me again to stay up later and later. And for some reason, when I wake up in the morning, even if the morning happens to be 10 or 11 a.m., that's when I'm sort of thinking the most clear. And that's kind of when I want to get on the computer or discuss work or something. When I'm already sort of brain is turned off, that's kind of when I want to exercise. Everyone says it's the opposite. You should wake up in the morning. You should, eat kasha, your kasha, your various types of grains, your oatmeals and all that. Farina, as you can buy in Ohio. If you guys have ever had farina, it's very popular in Russia. In fact, I should probably go make myself some farina after this. I haven't had it in a while. I think I still have some downstairs. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but we'll see. But it's anyways, so I'm kind of do everything backwards a little bit. Everyone says you have to have your kasha in the morning and you have to exercise in the morning, and that's like the start of your day. I don't know. If I put all my energy in exercising, then my brain kind of turns off by midday. So anyways, late schedule, but that's okay. Anyways, another piece of really good news that we have. Oh, today's topic is going to be, someone wrote me a very honest and detailed question about safety. And I actually took a very long time to write him record him some audio messages. In fact, the first set of messages, I kind of recorded them, sent them, didn't like them. He hadn't received them. And I sort of deleted them and redid it. So I thought that his sort of safety concerns, or sort of concerns related to Russia, were kind of interesting. I think I may have talked about some of these topics before, but I think I talked about them before on the now banned original RTTT channel on YouTube. So I don't think I talked about them here. But even if I did, it'll still be interesting. And it's an open discussion day. So if you guys want to change the topic, I don't think that's a problem. But our main topic is safety. But before we get to safety, I really want to show you guys something. And it is not with that button. And now I'm forgetting. Oh, it's this button. Okay, we go to this. We go to, yeah, look at that. Okay, wow. Look at this, friends. Oh, my gosh. It is a new episode of Russia Tips, Tricks, and Travel, which has now been renamed to Tim Kirby's Travels. Now that I have the rights to it, because I don't really have the rights to the RTTT name. So everything has to become Tim Kirby's Travels. But, yeah, so anyways, last year we were in the Caucasus Mountains, and it was one hell of a trip. I had a absolutely fantastic time on this trip. As you can see, that's Director Misha, if any of you were wondering. So, yeah, that's me going down there to North Ossetia and Ingushetia. One day we'll do South Ossetia, friends. I have a feeling one day we'll do it. But so anyways, yeah, there's sort of outdoor scenes there. Yeah. And some people are sort of like, yeah, Tim, your videos are cool, but they have few views. Guys, I don't know if any of you, you guys seem to be on Telegram, right? At the very least. And many of you probably have Facebook accounts, VK accounts, maybe even a Twitter. Just share this. Okay, go on the Tim Kirby Hardcore chat, grab this video, and just share it around. Share it to, maybe if not to anyone specifically, just sort of share it in general. Share these kind of videos to groups somewhere. Because although I really, again, we'll stop with Glorious Misha in the background. Misha... but, I really appreciate you guys writing me warm messages and writing me about how I'm getting very few views. But the best thing you can do is use your time to share videos. Because if you think anything I've ever done, be it a video or an article or something, is of value or you really appreciate it, it's nice that you tell me, but it's best that you share it. Because then more people see it and I get better results. So use that 30 seconds or 45 seconds you took to compliment me to share these videos around. But anyways, some of this has to remain a little bit of a secret. So let's go back to me. Let's go back to stop sharing. Okay. Again, this is one of those things where it'd be great if I had a producer. I could just sort of click my fingers and it would shift over back to me. But c'est la vie. For now, we have to do things old school and inefficient. So anyways, I'm going to talk to you guys about some safety concerns. One person who wants to be a participant in the American Villages Project has his name will remain nameless, and I'm going to change the names and professions of sort of anyone mentioned in this thing, just so that it becomes vague and confusing, and there's no way you can find out who it is. Okay, so all names would be fake. All locations are going to be modified, especially any professions will also be a bit gimmicked, I think is the pro wrestling term for that sort of thing. So that way everything works out. And if you guys have any questions, what can you do? Oh my gosh, you can just basically type anywhere on the main channel. I thought I shared, oh no, I shared the live stream things to the wrong, oh, I'm a dummy. I shared them to the wrong thing. So anyways, I guess under the video there on the main channel of the North Caucasus, where it's me in the ethnic clothing there, if you guys leave some comments under there, guess what? I'll see those comments, and I will answer them. Okay, then. And also, if someone wants to chat, they can raise their hand. But in the past, guys, we've had some people, they raise their hand 15 times. One time. Maybe two. Maybe two. Sometimes people have to come back with something. But let's just say 2 times maximum, okay? So anyways, let me read off. Again, reading when you're doing a live stream or radio is usually against the rules, but I break the rules. So let's read our friend here, his concerns, and I'll address them, and I'll sort of address everyone's, because a lot of you who are interested in visiting Russia or living here may have exactly the same concerns. That's why we do stuff like this. Because why should I take the time to answer one person when I could answer 500, or however many? Of course, right now watching are 20 people, but usually down the line, everything gets a couple thousand views. I'm pretty proud of that. I have definitely a niche product to sell here. So anyways, he says, I'm grateful and appreciate all the information you have given me. Thank you. I hate to pepper you with so many questions. That's okay, especially when he sort of condensed it all into one block and only sent one set of questions. That's nice. Actually, just before this interview started, I had to tell one person who keeps asking me constant clarification questions about everything. I was kind of just dude, especially when sometimes you seem to have some of the answers to the questions you're asking me, just stop it. So it's best to send them in one big block. Let them kind of fester in your mind and then send them. He said, we recently had a friend who worked a particular job over in Russia for 3 years. He got back about a year ago. And discussing several of us families going over there together, he agreed that it was a good idea to be looking for places outside of the United States to live. He then cautioned that while Moscow was safe, once you get outside of Moscow, it was like the Wild West and not necessarily safe for families. He explained that he had heard, this is an important thing, he had heard rumors, excuse me, I'm making things up. You have to forgive me, guys. I have dyslexia. Sometimes I read stuff that doesn't exist. He had heard numerous horror stories about things going on. He did not elaborate, and I was not the one to speak with him, so I was unable to ask follow-up questions. Another key point here. Is the countryside dangerous? Have you all found a way to mitigate it? Are there any suggestions you would have for a group heading over there to try to avoid problems with fellow citizens? The priest cautioned that alcoholism is still a major problem over there, which can cause people to act violently. A possible concerning scenario which would end poorly for us is that one of the locals could get drunk and cause problems with people from our group. And then defending ourselves, we would be in a vulnerable position as it would be a local against an American immigrant. Do you have any thoughts or insights into this matter? Okay, that is a big question there, my friends. There's a big question. So, first off, he kind of explains that he has this friend who worked here for 3 years and came back and told. Now, the thing is that his friend told things that he heard. Important. And I'm not going to say that bad things don't happen in Russia, because they do. Bad things happen everywhere. Crime happens here. But I can tell you one thing. When your friend is sort of, I'm kind of imagining this scenario in my mind of, I've talked to you guys a million times about the Russian inferiority complex, and that for many of the people who listen to this program are actually, some of you guys are already here, and generally most people support my position that, yeah, it seems like whenever Russians meet a foreigner, the first thing they do is tell the foreigner how awful their country is. Why would you come here? America's the land of milk and honey and all this other stuff. And so based on my experience of hearing this spiel about how I should have never come here and it's awful and all that, I've basically been in the position of his friend who worked here for 3 years, where you're just listening Russians trash their own country, over and over and over again. And the thing is, a lot of those people, the way that they trash the country tend to be horror stories, as he called them, from the 1990s. I have a feeling we talked about this before on the channel, but it bears repeating, that the 1990s were so awful that even though they're dead and gone and life here is now very, very, very different, it certainly sticks with a lot of people. And so I think that his friend was told over and over and over again the worst, like, criminal, gangster, brutal stories from the 1990s. And you have to remember the context. Why was there so much crime in the 1990s? Because the entire economy and the entire country collapsed. Everyone woke up one day and they were basically out of work with no resources, and everyone was in a literal fight for survival. Fight for survival make people violent, It's kind of like I don't know. I've never seen that movie, but I imagine it might be sort of similar. It's kind of like all of Russia had to go through the Hunger Games or something. I don't know. Again, I don't really watch movies, so I can't really tell you, but it kind of had a battle royale feel to it, where some people lost and some people won and millions of people lost. So again, I have a strong feeling that his friend got propagandized by self-hating Russians, or at the very least Russians who maybe don't hate themselves but still give in to their inferiority complex. Because you'd be surprised how many people who are Russians who actually like their country still feel it's absolutely and completely inferior to the West in every way. That is a paradox that is hard to explain, but those people are here, and they might be in equal numbers with the self-hating Russians. Then again, a lot of the self-hating Russians bailed. So I don't even know what to say anymore about that. But the inferiority complex remains. It is a phenomena of 300 years plus. So I think it's on the recession. It's going away slowly but surely. But so anyways, I think his friend who worked here got really, really propagandized by these horror stories of the 1990s and came back and then sort of scared everyone, which is really frustrating, because when you look at things, there's a simple fact. Prisons around the country are being closed because there's no one to be in them anymore. That's a fact. Go look it up online. Try looking for it in English. Maybe you astute ones out there can find it in Russian. Russian prisons have actually had to be closed during the more recent Putin years because there's just less crime. It's just less, and you don't see it. And in fact, one thing I even told the guy, one thing is before you really believe these magical stories, we have this amazing thing, and this is something that I really want all of you guys to do. Oh, thankfully, I'm still on the screen. That's nice. We're going to share the screen, and I'm going to show you something. Okay. Now, Google also has street views of Russia. They're just not as good. Whereas Yandex has basically, oh, no. I didn't even know you could do that. That's amazing. Look at that. Holy moly. The future's here. You can oh my gosh, you can do both screens at once. And then, or did you guys not see the screens shift like that? That's the question. Because on my video, it went kind of like picture in picture. I don't know. So sorry. I was surprised. I don't know if you guys saw that, but I sure did. Write in the chat if that actually worked. Did you see two pictures appear on your screen or not? Because that's crazy. But anyways, you guys, I hope are seeing this image. Oops, no, this image here. Now, Google has Street View, and so does your Yandex. And I tried to look around for places in Russia that are scuzzy, or places that I don't want to live. And one of them is Khimki. There are two places around Moscow that I absolutely hate. One of them is Khimki, but number one is Lyubitsy. Are the worst places. Not so much. I'm going to do that a lot. Not so much because I would say they're criminal, but just because they're built really ugly. But this is sort of the outskirts of Khimki. And if you look around, someone, went down the street with the van. You got the woman with the baby. You got someone sitting on a bench. Got some new medium rises over there. You got your little dinky church. What's behind here? Relatively new school. Okay, cool. So this is our little propaganda moment where I picked out a nice part of Russia here that is what his friend said, that Moscow, that right outside the border of Moscow is the wild, wild west. It is a, nightmare zone. It is a living hell. And that's here. You see this line down here? Maybe you can see it. You probably don't see it very well. That's basically the border of Moscow. So this is somewhere that's in that hell zone that he's describing. And that's what it looks like. In fact, let's go over here and I don't know. Let's for a second. Again, this was sort of like over here, this is Himki. That's what that says, Himki. One place I would never want to live. And so this is the big road around Moscow, the MKAD highway. And so everything around this should just become this nightmare apocalypse zone. So while we're here together, you guys can, on your own computer via Yandex, start looking around and see what it's like. See, I'll try to find somewhere. Like, this is why I wouldn't really want to live in Himki, because there's this giant highway going through it. And anyways, yeah, see, that's not so great. This is kind of not very, retro McDonald's from 2021. But yeah, not maybe the best place to get clean air is in Himki. It's kind of what it looks like. Let's try to go to Lyubertsy, because Lyubertsy is my least favorite place in Russia. Kotelniki also sucks. That's what's there. Lyubertsy. Let's go to like a back alley in Lyubertsy. Oh, what does this look? Let's see. What is this going to be? Oh, wow. Well, now see, one of the reasons why I don't like Lyubertsy is because what's there? You got high rises, way too little parking, and people, this guy looks slightly annoyed, trying to fight for parking. So all Lyubertsy is it's this and just nothing else. And maybe 10 feet of grass. Amazing. So Lyubertsy was sort of like, I think it got approved during Yeltsin's time, or maybe phase one of Putin, and they just shoved, it's just like a middle-class ghetto. Anyone who had money just sunk their money into getting apartments here around Moscow, and it is a just nightmare of high-rises. That's also surrounded by many old, obsolete sort of roads. Like, where's this Ryazansk? Like, these roads are way, way too small. Way too small for how many people live here. You have some older buildings. But yeah. But so anyways, I'm not doing this to sit around here and complain to you guys about life in, let's see. What does Lyubertsy look like from the sky? I'm not trying to complain to you guys about life in Lyubertsy or Himki or whatever. The point I'm saying is that you can literally take a little miniature tour of Russia and start to look at what these places around Russia actually look like, so you can debunk myths. Okay. I don't know. Does anything I'm showing you that's outside of Moscow, does it look like the apocalypse? Here, let's go back to screen sharing again. Let's go to everyone's favorite place in the world, Chekhov County. So there you go. We have down. Let's go to. In fact, let's not go to downtown Chekhov. Let's go to some place. I don't think I've ever even been here. So this is what Chekhov looks like on some dinky street. Got some lady walking. Some fat lady, not fat lady, a couple beat up streets here, some new houses. Okay, this is, I guess, your rural Chekhov slightly. Some guy in his house. That's actually kind of nice. I like that. Got the balconies and all that. All right. So the thing is, everyone's hanging out. I like that. They got their table just on the street. Wow, party time, baby. Party time. Someone's got was that a four-wheeler? Oh, my gosh. Can we get close to the four-wheeler? No, we really can't. But that's nice. Who doesn't love a four-wheeler? So, anyways, is this like the Wild West hellhole that he's talking about? I don't know. I'm kind of seeing the land of freedom over here. So, the guy's got a shopping cart? All right, guy. Yeah, I got a shopping cart too, baby. So, and also in Russia, if there's no sign there, you can park there. Remember, rules of Russia. So, anyways, there is no apocalypse beyond the MKAD highway. I'm sorry. You guys can, try to find it, lace it around, but it's just not there. All right? So, anyways, first thing is I just kind of wanted to dispel this rumor that this guy got into about how everything is awful. Let me see if there's any questions in the chat. Maybe there's some. Maybe there aren't. And then we'll sort of get into phase 2 of this guy's questions here. Why is nothing working? Anyways, then there's no questions. Okay, remember, if you guys put a comment under anything here. I think I'm gonna have to share the live stream image here. Hold on. I should have shared that from the beginning. But anyways, if you guys write anywhere on the site, I'll see it, and life will be good. But you guys are still listening, so that means someone is still interested. So anyways, while we're having a break, let's talk to Sam Oak. But Sam, let's try to keep it a semi on topic. Here we go. Hello, Sam Oak. Hi. What's up?
Hey. Yeah. I went through a foster situation growing up, so my birth certificate does not match my current name. Is that
Ooh,
something that I need documentation for to
absolutely
explain?
100%. That will cause huge problems. You definitely need to get some sort of, government document, preferably with a stamp or a apostille that shows that you had a name change.
Okay. But
100%.
you need the birth certificate and the passport, you said?
You will when the immigration process starts. In order to apply for the village, everyone just has to send their passport. But when the actual immigration process starts, will be needed. But when the project actually finally gets the final rubber stamp, and we finally get going with this, and we finally get the very first guy to come out there with an excavator and start digging a trench for electric lines, when that finally starts happening, our buddy Timur, the immigration lawyer, he's going to basically prepare an instruction manual for everything that you need to do in order to immigrate the proper and correct way.
Gotcha. Now,
So,
what is going to be the amount of time you want us there in the first couple of years? Because I'm thinking there's going to be a transition time. We're going to have to be here and there. So, what's your recommended?
this is a very simple answer. By Russian law, if you have a residency permit, you must live on the territory of Russia 184 days a year. That works out to be 6 months plus 1 day, i.e., you have to spend 51% of your time on the territory of the Russian Federation in order to maintain your residency permit.
Got it.
So that has nothing to do with me. That is federal law.
Okay, and so it's not too late to send the passport photos to you?
Absolutely not. Well, not passport photos, the scan of your passport.
Okay, and should I? Is there a place with specific instructions on that?
What do you
Like,
mean?
is there a place? Like, I just have to scan the entire passport just
You could
as a
take a
PDF?
photograph of it if it's clear. You could scan it, but basically you have to just send that over to me. And then what it does is it goes into a big document where the image of it is saved onto a particular account on a particular server in a particular place. And then that goes into a general list of all the people who want to participate.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I can't think of any other questions except.
Well, no, it's good that you asked because that name thing is huge. That is going to be a pain in the butt, and also it's something you definitely need to resolve now because trying to resolve it from Russia is not going to be good, and it is definitely one of the reasons why someone might say no. Like that is a real
I have the document. I have the name change document that would go with it, but I was just wondering.
Well, the thing is, how official looking is it?
Yeah, it's got a stamp. It's got
then it'll fly. It'll fly.
Yeah.
You'll probably have to get it translated, but again, anyone needs stuff translated. When you guys actually do come over here, I will give you the contact info of the translation service that I used every time I had to do the temporary permanent residency twice, and then for citizenship, the translation service I use. Why? Because not only do they work surprisingly cheap, but I can 100% say that their firm gets through. It was done correctly and it was approved. So
now, do you think that this kind of climate of the animosity, I think it's mainly from the U.S. towards Russia. I don't think Russia is doesn't seem from when Putin speaks that he's angry with the West. Really, he's just more annoyed. Do you think this animosity is going to die down soon? Would you predict that it would make immigrating there seem less like a slap in the face to the U.S.? I
mean, when the Ukrainian war comes to a conclusion, I do think it'll be better because right now, I mean, technically, again, officially, what's happening is the United States is not involved in a war with Russia, but de facto, it is. Okay, and so I do think that when this concludes, it will definitely be better looking in all ways to have some sort of interaction or contact with Russia. I think it'll become better because the situation will be resolved. And again, probably the media will shift over to some other problem. But in the grand scheme of things, will like Russophobia go away overnight? That remains to be seen. Another thing too is if the United States had like a major political shift in power, like say, I don't know, someone Trump-esque took over for 12 years, well, that could definitely create put the seeds in the ground to really change the way that the United States and Russia see each other. But that's 12 years or something. So, again, this is one of these things where you have to kind of think about. This is actually a good question because it's related to safety and it's sort of related to the overall arc of a lot of questions that I get. Is basically everyone wants to hear from me some sort of confirming guarantee that if they come to Russia, it will be the right decision and there won't be consequences. I can't guarantee that. But again, it's, I also, like I've been kind of talking about is I get a lot of messages about how it's like we're living in a like, especially like say Canadians. Canadians tell me they're living in a totalitarian nightmare. Like the number one thing the government there is advertising, it's euthanasia all day long, vax everyone to death. If you're not vaxxed, you can't leave. If you protest, we freeze all of your assets. If you don't pay your taxes on this, that, or the other, your life is over. But at the same time, we need to help the world and give billions to Ukraine and all that. So I get sort of people tell me, they put together this picture of a nightmarish, hellish existence. And then they kind of worry, like with this particular person, they're like, well, I don't know. Maybe in Russia I could encounter a drunk person. It's like, put these things on a scale and measure them out. So, Sam, I unfortunately, I'm going to tell you that that's something you're going to have to think about. You have to think about, like, are the opportunities and the freedom that Russia grants you, are they worth the risk of maybe getting in trouble back home? Or if things are going pretty good for you back home, maybe you might want to stick with it. Like for some people who are pretty on in year, like as long as you have, like, let's just go from an American perspective. If you're elderly and you are on your, what's it's called? Blue Cross and Blue Shield, basically. And in the United States, as long as they don't start trying to imagine some sort of like euthanasia policies, maybe it might be just best to just ride out the storm till the end of your life there, because at least it'll be full of guarantees and you're sort of already in the system. But, if you're only halfway down the road of life, I don't know, man. I think it might be worth making the jump. But again, this is one of these things where I knew from my entire, let me just take you off here, Sam, because we're going to get back onto our topic after this. But I knew that the entire time when I decided to move to Russia over 15 years ago, or to essentially kind of give up in the United States, I knew that eventually there would be this some kind of moment where you have to draw a line in the sand. And at some point in time, you have to pick what side of the line you're on. And I made that decision. Will I regret it in the future? I don't know. So far, I don't. Especially when it comes to professional athletes like the guy in the Buffalo Bills who nearly dropped dead, probably due to a certain jabby. So you see what I mean? So, but anyways, everyone that, at this point, when we're in this weird sort of like soft World War III, if you're going to make a decision, then you got to stick by that decision. And you can't have it both ways. I think everyone wants to have it both ways, but we cannot act like feminist activists who want to live in a sex-positive world where then men don't ever look at them when they're dressed sexy. We can't live in that world. It's got to pick a side of the line to be on, man. So got to think about that. But anyways, carrying on. Again, in this guy's message, so he had a few quick questions. Is the countryside dangerous? Overall, absolutely not. Because first off, Russia's so big and it's so spread out and so not population dense. If there is some sort of danger to living in Russia, I think that one thing would be difficult, because I did it, was living in an isolated village in Kazakhstan as a Peace Corps volunteer although my village was sort of like mixed ethnicity, if you are some kind of like crazy, like, wild, adventurous person, and you think that you can, because you could literally, if you went out to like the Altai Mountains and you went to who's down there, like the Buryats or something, like to some Buryat village, and you could probably buy some like old shack for like $1,000 and have a house and do like your whole Siberian adventure mode. But the thing is, when you're going into some little community where everyone is the same ethnicity and everyone was born there and their dad was born there and his dad was born there, the Caucasus Mountains are kind of the same way. That I would say could be kind of dangerous. There were some definite moments when I was living in the village in Kazakhstan where things got kind of hot, but that's because it's a very close-knit, isolated, cut off from the rest of the world community. Whereas we're going to be in our own sort of little reality here. And remember, things around Moscow and even far away from Moscow, within the Moscow region, are much different. You're not like the people who live around where the village is. They're not like Russians who live in like an ethnic enclave. You're not going to hear so much of a "you from around here, boy" kind of thing. One thing I also can tell you is one friend I have who's a journalist who will remain nameless because it's just to be certain. He bought a house in the suburbs of apartment in the suburbs of Moscow, and one of his neighbors kind of went up to him. And this was during the Obama time. Was like, "Well, how do you feel about Obama? You support all this shit in Libya and this, that, and the other." Basically, he was sort of poking him with a lot of questions. Why? Because for Russians, like I was kind of just ironically talking about, Russians, when they actually ask you about your political opinions, they don't care what your answer is, okay? They don't care what you have to say or what you think or who you are. They want to know what side of the line you're on. Are you with us? Are you against us? And so when my buddy was like, "Look, I didn't vote for Obama. I don't believe in any of this shit. I'm anti-war. I think we need to bring the troops home and all this stuff," that was enough for his neighbor, and that was enough for it. And as someone who's had that conversation of this like Russian trying to figure out whose side of the line you're on, as someone who's had this conversation 5 billion freaking times, I can tell you that that's generally it. But one of the main things is for your own personal safety, you have to learn Russian. The biggest thing to prevent any problems with you is your personal safety is learning Russian. Because one time when I was in the village in Kazakhstan, at one day I kind of walked. The village was sort of divided into 3 sectors by each school, and so there was sort of almost like in a Japanese anime. There were kind of like gangs of punks who would sort of defend each sector of the village. Now, again, this has probably changed because I was there a long time ago. This was still where like people were still in sort of post-Soviet mode. From what I've heard, pretty much all the young people left that village, so now it's just sort of cows and the elderly. But c'est la vie. But at the time, it was still in Soviet mode almost, and so there were these sort of gangs of anime punks who would sort of have these sort of street fights between each other from time to time for the honor of their school or whatever. And so as someone who taught at school number 2, I had to go into Sector 3 of the village for some reason, and I kind of got surrounded by their punks. And they started making fun of me and started to kind of push me, and they were surrounding me, and it was like a 10-on-1 fight. Now, these guys were like 16 or 17, so they're already sort of like man-sized. So a 10-on-1 fight, I wasn't going to win. But the one thing I did tell them is, well, basically, they sort of said, "Well, what you going to do now?" And I just told them it was in Russian, "Go fuck yourself." And that was it. And that got me out of the situation, right? Because everyone found that funny. I also pronounced that very incorrectly. There's this particular je ne sais quoi that's needed when you say that in Russian, and I didn't have it at the time. So everyone found it funny, and I got out of the situation. And again, we have to remember, this is an isolated, sort of mixed ethnicity, absolutely dirt poor Kazakhstani village. All right. And none of you guys are going to be in that kind of environment. But the key thing is, if you do have any problem, if you speak Russian, you can get out of it. And that's one of the main things. You've got to be able to speak Russian. Now, one of the things is where the village is, what's around it. Around our village, there are some Russian villages, but again, they don't have this character that like a Russian village in the Altai Mountains would have. Again, where someone's been there for 300, 400 years, and who are you, outsider? You don't have any of that. It's not there. So there's like a few dacha communities, and there are like a couple actual villages. But you're not going to get, there's no weird like drunk people are going to be walking around, because they'd have to walk a really far way to get to the village, man. if you like the nearest Russian village where there may actually be that kind of person who's lived there for 300 years and they're living in the house that their great grandfather built and they got nothing going on. So they're drinking every day. That's going to be a hefty 10K walk to come over to us to go cause problems. So I really don't think that's going to happen with our village. And I don't think the Russian countryside is dangerous at all. Now, here's something important. This person who asked this question, which I find fascinating. Now, this person, I guess we could say because there's 330 plus million of us, they're an American. And this person says that they lived in a gigantic major U.S. city. They said the name of the city. I won't tell you. But they lived in a giant major city for some significant part of their lives. Compared to New York, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Detroit, Chicago, my Cleveland, any other large major American city, Russia is so safe, it is unbelievable. Obviously, some crime does happen here. But if any of you are willing to live in, let's just say, the city all Russians talk about the most, New York. If you've ever lived in New York, you've put yourself in 100 times more danger on a daily basis than you'll ever experience in Russia. So again, this is very weird. The stories this friend was telling me, it's the Russian countryside. It's not dangerous in my opinion. It could only be dangerous if you try to get really try to force yourself into some ethnic community where they don't want you there. That could be. Anyways, have you found a way to mitigate it? Again, there's nothing to mitigate. There is no danger. Just nothing. I guess if you want to mitigate, like I said, if you really feel that you're concerned about your personal safety in Russia, learn to speak Russian. Especially learn to shit talk in Russian. That's number one. Because, dude, the real alcohol-related problems in Russia come from, young guys at nightclubs. There's 5 guys from Chechnya, and they see that there's 5 guys from Russia, and they touch the Russian guy's his girlfriend's butt, and then the Russian guy hits him with a bottle. That stuff. That stuff happens. That doesn't affect people my age. I can't tell you. One time when I was having kind of a business meeting outside of a metro, this one guy who was really drunk would not leave me alone. I tried to walk away 3 or 4 times, and by the 4th time, I just knocked him out. I went in low, because sometimes, I'll tell you one thing, especially against a drunk guy, go in with the low kick first. He crumbled. That low kick, I hit that bone. I could feel that I hit good bone on that low kick. And he started to bend over, and then it just came uppercut from the hook. I think I got about 14 hits in, undefended, pow, 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 pow. Although one of them I did actually hit my thumb, and I really hurt my thumb, but I effed him up, and he went down. He went down in slow motion. That looked like some fighting video game stuff, where when you score the KO, everything goes into super slow motion. I can say that happened, but that was once, speaking English outside, that was once in, I guess, one time I kind of got into it, so 1.5 times, because one time outside of a different metro speaking English, and I did have to kind of tell off some guy, but it didn't go to fists. So over 15 years, that's 2 times. Yeah, try getting that level of respect living in Compton. So I don't know. So anyways, learn Russian. Do you have any suggestions for the group heading over there to try to avoid problems with fellow citizens? Again, the village that we're living, that we're creating, is somewhat isolated. There's not really again, this is one of the reasons why, because there was this one guy who was kind of trollish, who was writing these messages about how why don't you do this whole thing like our ancestors, our American forefathers did in New York. Why don't you have people go to the city and immigrate to the city because there's more jobs there and there's maybe more opportunities and stuff, like people did from they came from the old world and started living in New York. First off, for any of you out there who don't know, what you should try to look up railroad apartment, New York, maybe 1900s. Look up what a railroad apartment is. And that's the answer as to why we wouldn't do this project in the city. because the city is expensive. The city definitely offers a lot more contact with people, which means there's a lot more contact for sort of kind of problems to arise, being a foreign person in a foreign country. I think that actually where the village is, besides the dacha communities, the monastery, and the two other villages that are kind of, sort of, relatively near us, there's really no one to have a conflict with. It's so spread out, you know. It's kind of like, I don't know. Let's just say there's a lot of Russophobia right now. Russian guy is thinking, "Oh, I got to move to Kansas. I wonder if I'm going to get in any problems." Well, if you're going to live in a place that says population 200, there's not many people to have problems with, you know. So I don't know. In fact, the population of our village is probably going to be greater than the dacha communities that border it, because it's, you know, there's no guarantee that all the people there live all year round. So we're actually going to be the majority of all places within walking distance. So there you go. Yeah. Oh, anyway, someone wants to talk. Sam wants to get on again. Someone else had their hand up. Where'd you go? Someone just has their hand raised as part of their icon. That's interesting. Sam is here, but Sam already talked. Do you actually have any questions, or am I just babbling here? Oh, we do. Okay, the faster NATO loses, the better for all of us. Normalized relations. Well, yeah, because, dude, like, one thing, Christopher, is, like, with this whole thing, U.S. foreign policy being Russophobic, the day it changes, everything changes. Just like for people in the Soviet Union and people in Cuba, one day the Cuban authorities said, you know what? We're done giving exit visas. Cubans can travel abroad. And with the Soviet Union, it was extremely hard, you know, to leave the Soviet Union because, again, these exit visas, you had to get permission to leave. And the Soviet Union collapses, and you can just travel whenever you want. So a lot of things can change real quick. Sometimes they're real slow. Sometimes they're real quick. So you don't know. You have a PDF or website of the project? No, not until it gets approved. When it gets approved and when I have everything finalized and I can really actually say that we're going to do this way and this that way and then that's when I'll reveal it. But only after complete and total approval. Before that, no. I'll guarantee it. Get to Russia and have kvass and popcorn while you watch the U.S. and EU disintegrate. Well, yeah, Chris, that's kind of on my side. But the thing is, man, like I am not a prophet, unfortunately. God did not put me on this earth to be a prophet of the future. So I can't tell you that I'm 100% sure of how things are going to go. But I put my, like I said, I knew that I'd have to eventually pick a side. And I put my bet down on Russia, and I have no regrets. And even if things did go bad for me, I still wouldn't have any regrets. That's not how I live. Russian paid emergency care costs about as much as one monthly Medigap Medicaid insurance payment. Yeah. Now, the one thing is, a lot of you guys, though, if you already have some sort of like more regular health problems and are used to the American system, that can make moving here kind of difficult. But yeah, stay away from stupid people doing stupid things. Well, yeah, and again, like one of the things like with Chris is, again, with this, the concerns that our friend is having here is, I think that those concerns would be a lot bigger if we were in the city, because in the city you walk outside, and although when I'm in Moscow, again, this is one of the things why I love living in this country. I go wherever I want. There is no bad neighborhood. There is no place where, because I'm some kind of person, I just go wherever I want. If there's a fence there and barbed wire, well, that's a different story. But anywhere there's no fence, I'm going there. And it's amazing. And it's one of the reasons you want to live here, and that freedom. But anyways, in Moscow, I go wherever I want, and I never have to worry about it. And especially where we're going to be living around Serpukhov, it's going to be fine. Just hello, Christopher is here. Christopher, you seem passionate today. Hello. No, this way.
Wife had
hello.
My wife had a medical emergency in St. Pete. It costs less to deal with that than it would have cost. About $300 total. I mean, you can't even talk to an ER nurse for that kind of money. That was at the American Clinic in St. Pete, which is
where they spoke English to you. Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, that's literally considered service for Russia. But don't worry about it. You can get medical attention in Russia cheap or even free if you're a resident.
Yeah.
It's not a problem. And as for crime, the most I had to deal with was in St. Pete, some roach was hanging around at night at the in an ATM kiosk. I walked down the street, down the block, talked to some cops. Two of them looked at me and said, "Well, what do you want me to do about it? I can't do anything." I looked back there and saw that roach trying to purse snatch some lady. I said, "Well, it looks like he's just become your customer," as I pointed, and they both ran over there to take care of it. But that's about as close as I got to crime in St. Pete. It's just the usual.
And also, that's one thing it confirms, because one thing, Christopher, I just want to mention is you guys have probably heard me say that, like, corrupt cops in America, they tend to have this sort of like Napoleon complex. They want to like punish you or take out some of their bad, their inferiority complex on you. Generally, cops are bad in Russia. They want money, or they're just like the police here. They just don't want to do anything. And that's a good example of it. And that's one of the reasons why you feel a lot of freedom living in Russia, because the cops, they don't want to arrest you. They don't want to talk to you. Yeah,
they want you to make the problem go away more than anything else.
So anyway, thank you, Christopher, for jumping in there. I'm going to mute you now. Again, not because you're a bad person, but time to get a little bit back on a schedule here. But so anyways, I think we're going to try to get back to this, and let's see. So it said about alcoholism. Again, like according to a recent thing that I actually shared, apparently the amount of alcohol consumed within Russia per person has finally dropped below countries like especially England and Western Europe. So again, there's more drunkenness in England than there is in Russia now. Although I'm always a little skeptical of statistics, but I can definitely say by living here that the amount has dropped. So like the prisons are being closed because there's a lack of people to incarcerate. People are drinking less. Overall, many things in Russia feel like they're on the right track, and I just don't see any sort of need for the security thing. But let me just close today. Let's see, is there any questions? How long do you interview this? Okay, some jokes being shared. Okay, that's something for another day. One thing I just also wanted to tell you guys is, again, about when you're worried about personal safety as a Western person here in Russia, is, again, one of the reasons why you're moving to Russia is because a Russian person, like this message that I got of this guy heard from this guy that things are dangerous here and what can he do? One thing he did say is, would he get in more trouble being a foreigner if he got into a fight with a Russian person? If not as part of a program that's approved by the governor, because when the governor's stamp is on something, it means a lot. Trust me, when I used to apply, when I applied for my temporary residency and permanent residency twice, the attitude towards me was, let's just say, the attitude towards some sort of vile, disgusting beast. I was treated by the migration authorities as no better than a rat, like everyone else. As soon as the presidential administration approved my citizenship, then the migration authorities rolled out the red carpet. Oh, Mr. Kirby, you forgot to dot an I. Please, could you just please, we just like you. Oh, could you just so kindly just dot that I for us, please, sir. Everything was different. And that's the same thing. As soon as the cops, they know, because with this special project, the police are going to be, and trust me, the police are going to be informed that there's this sort of unique thing going on here. And and like everywhere in Russia, every little community has its own dedicated sheriff. That's the word. So we're going to get to know the sheriff. We're going to have some conversations with him. We're going to build that rapport with him and get to know him. And that'll also help with sort of situations like that. I probably should have told this guy about that last time. This is something I forgot about, but I didn't tell him. So we're going to have that. That's important. But again, one thing I just wanted to mention in closing is that, like, one of the reasons why you want to move to Russia is that Russians never ask these questions about anywhere they're going. They just go. Just like how I said, the thing that's amazing about in Russia, there's no fence there. Just go there. Just do whatever you want. That's why Russians get in a lot of trouble in America. But, one of the reasons you should be here is because of that freedom. Because, like, there's really no danger. And if there is, you just deal with it or you just accept it. It's not an issue. It's a great place. It's no problems. You can always, work your way out of all of them. Again, guys, and going back to our screen sharing, I really, really want you guys then to get on your Yandex and just go around. Just go to all over places, all over the country. Just look around and see what's there. Let's go. Our village is what, halfway to Tula? Is this Tula? Yeah, it is. Is there anything what's this weird place halfway to Tula? You know? What's this weird? Let's look. Oh, brand new house, of course. Brand new house, new garage. Relatively new house. Guy just kind of walking on the street. Like this here, what you're looking at, this is the reality of like what Russia is, you know? Some old lady, cars parked. Yeah, park on the grass. Yeah, baby. Rule breaker. No, that's an old house. You see, this is sort of just the reality of things. Everything's normal, maybe a little bit boring, not too crazy. Let's not give in the myths. So what's down here? What's this big intersection? Car wash? Something over here. Sperbank, I see. Okay, wow. Big bank. A lot of cars. Some sort of obelisk thing. I wonder what that's there for. Windows and doors. Interesting. But, so anyways, guys, unless anyone has any questions, anyone raises their hand in like the next few seconds, I'm going to be out of here because I think we kind of more or less touched on our topic here. Let's see. Anything in the chat? Absolutely nothing. Anyone got their hands raised? Absolutely not. So anyways, guys, I'm going to head out here. I'll post this video up soon. And remember, got to think logically, like with this guy. Oh, this guy, the person who asked me the question, not only did he live in a major American city for a significant amount of time, which is extremely dangerous, he also lived in like Central America for a long time. Like, no comparison. If you guys can live in Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Guatemala, around like the Mexican drug gang territories, you'll be fine in Russia. Trust me. Everything will work out, you know, just fine.